Welcome to episode 65 of Inside Deschutes County. If you're out walking the dog, commuting to work, or just taking a few quiet minutes for yourself, we're glad you pressed play and brought us along. Make sure you're subscribed wherever you listen to podcasts, and you can always find every episode at deschutes.org/podcast.
Deschutes County is an amazing place to live,
Ease of access,
work, and play.
Great place to raise a family.
I love the weather and the high desert.
At Deschutes County, we provide excellent service.
Beautiful.
We're here to help you.
Deschutes County is the heart of Oregon.
Everyone wants to be here.
Welcome to the Inside Deschutes County podcast. I'm Eric Breon. So glad you're here. Well, today we're sitting down with Tim Brownell, Director of Deschutes County Solid Waste. He's getting ready to hang up his boots after 4 years or so in the county, but a long career before that. And Tim has helped shape how we manage waste, expanding recycling opportunities, and basically planning for the future of solid waste services right here in the county. His work has touched just about every resident in one way or another. So we wanted to take a little bit of time and chat with him before he says goodbye. Tim, thank you for being here.
Well, it's great to be here. Great to be with you, Eric.
We definitely wanted to talk to you because there's so much to talk about when it comes to solid waste. And before you go off and hit the slopes, hit the trails, play with the grandkids, what, in a couple of months?
Yeah, yep. Probably by April or so.
Okay, right around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's talk a little bit about kind of when you think back to the start of your career, what first pulled you into this work? The environmental work, the solid waste work, the recycling work, and are you getting emotional now? I mean, I'm trying to do my best Barbara Walters here, make you cry, as you think about to the beginning of this work and the impact that you've had, because it's huge.
Yeah, it's a good question. I always blame this on my mother, frankly, and
Your mom?
No, my mom.
Don't let her hear this.
Yeah, no. My folks were incredibly thrifty as I was growing up, and to the point where my mom, I didn't have a lunchbox. My mom would give me a paper bag that she had usually probably pulled out of garbage can next to a McDonald's or Burger King at the time. Where I was in Philadelphia. I grew up, and there was a place called Geno's, which was competing with McDonald's back in the 60s. But she would pull these bags out, and she's like, that's perfectly good. And she would put my lunch in it, and she said, you bring that back. We're going to fill it today. And I had to use that bag for at least a week. If I didn't bring it back to her, she would just give me my lunch.
Wow.
Raw, basically.
Yeah.
I had to figure a way to carry it in. So there was this practice of thrift in our household. And we had compost piles, and my dad was a gardener, and there was this ethic and ethos that was ingrained in me. And, I was in my 20s working in New York City. I was a general contractor at the time, and we were doing these residential renovations and pulling out cabinets and putting in new ones. And this was during the days of the Michael Douglas movie, Wall Street.
Yeah.
It was the Reagan days. And there was so much money in New York City, and we would do a renovation of an apartment that somebody had just bought, and it had been renovated 3 years before. So there was all this perfectly good stuff being pulled out, and it was just kind of eating at me. We're throwing out perfectly good stuff. So I was trying to find a home for all these cabinets and other materials. And then something else happened in New York City at the time. So this is the 80s. And there was something called the garbage barge that some people may not remember this. Some people might be old enough like me to remember it. But there was really bad graphics on NBC News at night. And it was this barge of garbage that was coming off out of Staten Island. And it was supposed to go to Virginia and get disposed of. That's where New York's waste was going at the time, but they wouldn't accept it. And it was on the nightly news, where's the barge? It was going up and down the East Coast for about a year. And I was just kind of captivated by, wow, we have a garbage crisis.
Interesting.
And it just started to spark something in me. And I ended up quitting my job and moved to California to get involved in the setting up of the recycling program in San Francisco, the curbside recycling program. Drove across the country and with my wife, pregnant at the time, and we were looking for a home and found a home and found a job and got involved in setting up the curbside program for the city of San Francisco. And that began the journey that has me sitting here today.
That's quite the journey.
Yeah.
That's quite the journey because you've been here about 4 years.
Correct.
And it seems like you've been here a lot longer because some of the things that you've overseen and have been working on are so huge, Tim. I mean, the landfill siting, the expansion of recycling options. I know you're trying to the diversion efforts and get that number up. The building of the Negus facility in Redmond. You've done some pretty big things in a short amount of time. But looking back, kind of when you started here to now, some big stuff.
Yeah, and I have to give the credit where the credit is due, and the predecessors, Chad Santolo's before me, but Tim Shimke, who was a longtime director up until 2023, I believe, 2022. They really set the path, and I've been following something called the Solid Waste Management Plan, which was developed and adopted in 2018, which really kind of has set the path that we're following, and it's really exciting. It's an exciting time to be here in Deschutes County and really work on the solid waste system to be able to bring it into what I think ultimately may end up being the most advanced solid waste system in the state.
Well, that's pretty cool.
It's very cool.
I mean, is that how you would kind of describe the biggest way the work has changed over this time? I mean, even probably back to your San Francisco days, I'm sure how it was when you started, even going back to watching the barge, to what you're working on now and the innovation and the attention to detail to the impact that these decisions have. Mm-hmm. I mean, how has that changed? How have you changed when it comes to the thought process, when it comes to navigating all these efforts?
That's an interesting question. I came into this work really kind of shocked about how we really looked at waste, and that waste just went away, and the garbage trucks would come and pick it up, and away it would go. And once I saw that, what was occurring off the coast of New York City, it really had me just really think about, can we change systems? Can we really think about how consumption and our lack of thought about the impacts of consumption and the disposition of materials at the end of use. We call it end of life, but really end of use. Is there a better way? Is there a way that we can replicate nature as opposed to put it in a hole and forget about it? We've lived in an extractive society. It's what has made the United States incredibly wealthy, is having extraordinary natural resources. But there may be a better way to handle those resources and manage them, and that caught my attention. And I spent the first 25 years of my career really trying to develop recycling systems, composting systems, doing advocacy work for the development of policies that would embed recycling and waste reduction into our solid waste systems. And then over the last 10 years, I've had the great fortune of then moving out of just the diversion activities to really getting more involved in the what we call integrated solid waste management, and had the opportunity to not only handle the recycling and composting streams, but also manage the solid waste streams and see where are those opportunities that we can change policy or we can change operations so that we can cost effectively move materials out of waste into other streams where we can recover them. And from that, we can really start to identify how can we even reduce even further.
So you've changed, and you've changed your thought process from back at outside the McDonald's to now. Has the public changed? How has the feedback that you've received or the input that you've received over the years kind of evolved? Do you think people are on board with getting this stuff? I mean,
yeah, I would say the public has changed.
Probably dramatically, I would imagine, since the 60s.
In several ways over this time. The adoption of recycling, it was perceived as a really important, active, environmental opportunity for the public to engage in. And when recycling programs were rolling out, people were incredibly enthusiastic. And some people were not enthusiastic because it was increasing, system costs, right? Now recycling it's funny because it's now an expected service as opposed to an environmental activity for a number of folks. It's just, oh, I put this here, I put this over there. So it's become a little more expected. It's become a little more kind of institutionalized. So it's trying to, we're trying to re-engage the community to really understand what is the importance, what is the benefit, what is the opportunities that not only recycling, but even further up the line, reuse and really making choices about reducing consumption and reducing the amount of waste we are generating. It's trying to figure out how do we motivate people 35 years later. And that's the challenge. And that's part of what the Recycling Modernization Act, which people may be hearing a bit about now, which Oregon just instituted, it's trying to transfer, and this is something we've been working on for a generation, is trying to transfer some of the costs of these systems off of ratepayers, off of residents and commercial businesses to the manufacturers and designers of the packaging and products that we use in our homes, that maybe they can design it a different way, but also if they don't, that there's an economic consequence, that they have to participate in the disposal system that we're all using. And that's been a huge shift. And that's the shift that Oregon was the first state in the country to actually implement what's called extended producer responsibility. They passed legislation in 2021 and implemented it just this past year. We're starting to see states all around the union start to adopt these policies. It's not a federal policy, it's a state by state. And that's what's exciting about what's going on in Oregon, but it's can we improve our systems and our programs, but not have to make our residents have to pay for it through their services, but have the producers and manufacturers participate.
So how is that done? Because I mean, you talked about how recycling is now ingrained. Mm-hmm. It's part of our way of life.
It's expected.
It is now, and it didn't used to be.
Correct.
And so how do you take something that's so ingrained and make it even better? I mean, is to me kind of that big 30,000-foot question. How do you make something we're doing this the right way? We're doing the things that are supposed to. How do you make it better? And diversion, probably a huge part of that.
Yeah, I think some of it is around how do we make it. What we're doing in Oregon is we're trying to make it universal, that what you're recycling in one part of the state you can recycle in another, so that it's consistent. it's convenient. So we're trying to bring more materials to the curb or to the recycling depots that you don't have to try and seek out where is that unique place I have to take my battery to. But also on the labeling. So truth in labeling is one of the things that, plastics is a prime example. You see those chasing arrows on the bottom around the number. If you see chasing arrows, shouldn't that be recyclable?
You would think.
Yeah, but that was put on these containers back in the 80s as a branding issue, we would call it greenwashing. But so truth in labeling and making sure that if somebody puts on a label that it's recyclable, that it is truly recyclable within the state of Oregon or within the community in which you are participating.
We're here with Tim Brownell, the outgoing, retiring Director of Solid Waste for Deschutes County. Tim, I want to get back to try to make you cry. Looking back, kind of the last 4 years, we talked briefly about some of those big projects. What accomplishment, what project stands out to you now as something that you're especially proud of, or proud of your team, or proud of the county? Sometimes even the county response, right? I mean, we talked about Negus, we talked about landfill siting. There were some bumps in the road with that process. The expanding of recycling, that kind of thing. What are you proud of as you now start to reflect?
First and foremost, the staff. COVID was hard on all departments, and particularly solid waste. Solid waste was considered an essential service. So people were having to show up to work every single day through that entire period. There was really no remote work, particularly for our line staff, our scale attendants, our equipment operators, et cetera. We had pretty significant turnover kind of during and post-COVID. But we have an extraordinary group of people there. We've expanded our management team. We've incorporated programs that previously we contracted out, like household hazardous waste. We brought that in-house. Our supervisors, our managers, our line staff, they're extraordinary people. They're my friends, right? I mean, they are my friends, and I will miss them tremendously. But I'm so I don't like to use the word proud, but I will in this case. I'm so proud of who they are, how they serve the public, how they work together, how they treat each other. The culture of the solid waste department has really transformed, and that's what I'm. If I say over the last 4 years, what am I most excited about? It's the culture of the department and how they serve the residents and how they treat each other. The projects, I can speak all day about them.
Yeah, we could probably do an hour.
Yeah,
on those.
But I will say that big heart.
Yeah.
Big heart.
Well, and I'm sure that feeling's mutual.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're proud of you and the work that you've done. So, congrats for all of what you've accomplished, because getting that recycling facility in Negus, it's a great facility. It's a convenient facility. Making changes at Knott, things like the household hazardous waste, things like that. I mean, some big stuff.
Yeah.
So kudos to you for all of those. Is there a moment on the job, Tim, where maybe serious, maybe funny, that as you've, as you're starting to get your flowers over these last few months after you've kind of started to reveal that you're retiring, hanging up the boots, is there something that has really kind of captured what the career has meant to you?
I'm not sure I've gotten there yet. I'm still in it.
Maybe it hasn't sunk in that you're leaving. Maybe you're not leaving. Maybe this is all a farce.
Right. There are days that I wonder.
I'm sure.
Yeah. No, I think it's really seen that the trajectory of where the department's going, that over these last 4 years, we really have gotten moving the pieces that were on paper within the solid waste management plan. So the work on the siting of the new landfill. This would be the first landfill in the state in 34 years. By the time we site it, it would be the first one in probably 40 years. But that, in conjunction with, we're looking to develop new recycling facilities at the Knott landfill. Those pieces, to see them actually moving and starting to progress and go forward, that has me very excited. That hopefully that train can't stop, and that's got me really jazzed.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Have you thought about, I would think, not quite to that age yet, but I would think that when I get to that age and I start to look back at career, you start to kind of reflect and, what would I tell my younger self? Would I have done this different or that different, or taken, different steps, or acted differently? Is there advice you would tell younger Tim? That Tim that, was looking at the barge and, or filling up their McDonald's bags, or, as to how you would approach this long and impactful career?
I think my advice would be do it again.
Do it again.
Do it again.
That was a good one.
I found that I followed a passion, that I found passion and I followed it. I've been in a career that was for a waste hauling company, setting up their recycling program. I worked for nonprofits for about 25 years doing operations, collections, recycling, processing, and advocacy work, and then I've been in the public sector. So I've had the opportunity to work in all of them, and but I just kept moving towards where can I make a difference, where can I learn something new, where can I have impact, and love it while I'm doing it. I've had the great fortune of having a wonderful opportunity to develop programs that I felt really good about, and I got to do it with great people.
That's always the hope and dream, right? When we're younger, to find that passion and be able to give back in that way of the things that we're passionate about. So that's pretty cool. Let me flip the question then. Advice to your younger self you just gave. What advice would you give to the person coming in next? Because they've got some things to work on. And, you talk about the roadmap is in place, the plan. It's one thing to write a plan. It's another thing to execute a plan.
Right.
So what advice would you give to them?
Take advantage of this opportunity. This is not what the place that Deschutes County is in is unusual. That somebody really has the opportunity to develop a system that will transform how we manage waste here in the county for the next 50 to 100 years. So you've got to want it. And I would say to the next person, want it, love it, and then work with the extraordinary group of people who are in that department who are passionate about this work too, the management team, the educators, the operators. People are excited about the change that's ahead. They're nervous about the change that's ahead. So my advice is embrace it, be enthusiastic, and take the team with you. This is not something that anybody can do alone. It's in conjunction with the group that's there. It's also working in conjunction with all the cities here, with the city of Bend and their staff and their councils, the city of Redmond, Sisters, and La Pine. It's going to be very collaborative, and we're going to have to engage and inform the community going forward. So there's so much to do that that I would say to the person, love it, jump into it. This is an opportunity that you would not have in most places in not only the state, but in the country. So embrace it.
Let's piggyback off of that a little bit, because if you were to pull out your crystal ball, what does solid waste look like in 5-10 years from now here in Deschutes County? Because, you and I have talked offline about some of these things, but I'm not sure if everybody understands like some of the things to take it to that next level that we were talking about of what might happen.
Sure. Yeah, there's kind of three big balls that are that we're playing with in the solid waste department right now. Obviously, the one that people hear the most about is the siting of a potential new landfill here in the county, and that's really based on the philosophy of we should be responsible for our own waste. We shouldn't ship this to a way, right? There is no such place in a way other than it's not in our neighborhood, right? It's not in our county. Let's take responsibility for it. So we're working hard to develop that new landfill site. In addition to that, we're also looking to expand our ability to take the waste that is currently being generated and figuring out ways that we can divert, to separate materials that are reusable and recoverable and recyclable out of the waste stream. So we're looking to develop new facilities at not landfill, expand our composting facilities so that we can handle more than twice of the materials that are generated. We're getting so much material through the fire reduction activities. That material is just getting landfilled. We need to compost that. We need to process our construction demolition debris. This county has more than twice the average amount of construction waste in our waste stream than most communities in the state of Oregon. So we can recover a lot of materials through the development of a processing facility to separate wood waste from metals, from plastics, from gypsum board, from cardboard, etc. If we develop those or expand both of those facilities, we'll be able to take what is currently about 29% of our waste stream, less than 30% of our waste stream are we recovering and diverting and recycling or composting, to well over 50%. And I think that the county could get to 60% of our waste stream. That's not zero waste. You hear the concept of zero waste, but it's starting to move there.
You're getting in the right direction.
Yeah.
Right? Like north of 50, you're doing pretty well.
Yeah. And then the other piece is to really modernize how we actually contract for the services that we have. We've been working under a franchise arrangement here where we have exclusive collection zones that were put into place in the 70s. We're currently in the process of working with the cities to revise that system and get that material or those service providers under more, I would say, under more stringent terms so that we can make sure that we get the materials to the facilities we want them to at a cost competitive price with service that our customers can rely on. So we have these three balls of franchise agreements, new facility development for diversion, and a new landfill. That's a lot to work and move forward, but it's pretty cool.
And they're not siloed either. I mean,
they're all interconnected.
They're all interconnected.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I know you talked a little bit about the pride you have for your team as being one of the, kind of your big accomplishments and how you guys work together. But I'm going to ask you to kind of get a little bit more granular. Mm-hmm. What are you specifically going to miss about this job and this work? Is it the board meetings? Is it the, being out with the people, seeing the trucks move? Kind of what is you talked about the barge at the beginning. Mm-hmm. That's kind of one bookend. Mm-hmm. What's the tail end memory that you're gonna carry away from here? That when you tell that story to the next person, to your grandkids, and in 10 years, you're going to say, well, when I was a kid, I was watching the barge out of New York. But at the end, in Deschutes County, what is that metaphor going to be, or that story going to be?
Another good question.
Yeah.
That's
what I do, Tim.
Yeah. It's interesting. I never, earlier in my career, I never thought I'd do work for a government entity. And I would say to work here in Deschutes County, and particularly for Deschutes County, to see the level of dedication throughout all the departments from our board, and they argue with each other. They have different philosophies, but they're committed to this county, all the way through the legal department and the sheriff's department and the administrative team, Nick Lelak and his group, and all the department heads, and hearing how the efforts that they're making to improve the services, to benefit their staffs, that's super inspiring. When you see a workforce of, what is the county, 1,200, 1,400?
Yeah, about that.
Yeah. And to see the level of commitment and the level of partnership between departments, that's inspiring to me. I never expected to feel so kind of moved by how it all works together here and how hard people are working, and then all the way down to into our department and the chili cook-offs that we have and the barbecues that we have for our staff and the breakfast burritos and Angie's coffee cake that she makes.
All recyclable material.
Right? Well, we have the reusables
That's
in
right,
our department
the reusables,
now.
yeah.
Yeah, so it's and the education team that's new in our department, and you've interviewed them and the passion that they have for the work, all of that. It's I would say I did not expect the level of passion in a government workforce that I've experienced here, and that's my takeaway.
Well, that's really cool.
Yeah,
that's really cool. Well, Tim, thank you so much for sharing yourself. First of all, for being, your experience and with that you brought here to the county to make Deschutes County better. So thank you for that, and thank you for your expertise, your experience in getting these projects running and trying to navigate all the roller coaster ride of solid waste and managing the tape sometimes to get things done. So thank you for that. Thank you for taking the time to share your story today, and it's just great hearing about the work and the challenges and how that's progressed over the years. So really appreciate your time today.
Oh, God, my pleasure, and always good to talk to you,
and
Eric.
Good luck in the next chapter.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
My thanks again to Tim Brownell, Director of Deschutes County Solid Waste, who's preparing to retire after a career focused on protecting our environment, improving recycling opportunities, and helping plan for the long-term future of solid waste services in Deschutes County. Well, if you're still listening, you made it all the way to the end. Thank you for that. Please tell your friends and family about this podcast. We hope we're shedding a little light on all the great work being done across Deschutes County. You can find us wherever you listen to your podcasts or at deschutes.org/podcast. But until next time, please be safe out there.